Yes, everything is fine, I think. So, okay. So we have two topics, yajna and dana, which are very important part of Sanatana Dharma. So what I propose is I will spend time on yajna today. If time permits, I will spend a little on dhanam. Otherwise, I will push it on to the next week. So next week we will continue this discussion and perhaps conclude with this. We will also take a little time for a bit of an oral interaction. If time permits, we'll do that. So I will talk about. So we will talk about yajna and dana. This path of self-evolution, I'm going to leave it. It becomes Vedantic discussion. Maybe we should have another series in which we should do this. So I will, although I originally promised and put it as part of this, now I think it is more Vedantic. Now we are seeing it a life in a very practical sort of a thing. So maybe I will skip it. We'll do yajna this week and dhanam next week, hopefully. Okay. So I want to give you a preamble and a background to why yajna and dana. Now, dharana dharma ityahuhu dharmo dharayate prajaha yad dharana sanyuktam syat sad dharma iti uchyate. I quoted that shloka 2 weeks back when we talked about dharma as a purushartha. So the word dharma, as I was mentioning, has come from drui dharane, that is a root, which means support, behold, and sustain. Now, so far we saw dharma as a very nice conceptual framework, which we must imbibe. Now, how does one practice, how does this sustainability happen, which is the essential component of dharma? That's where yajna and dana are coming. So we will try to understand that part of it first. So in Bhagavad Gita, there is this beautiful shloka in chapter 18, yajna dana tapah karma natyajyam karyam eva tat yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. It's a very nice shloka. Krishna says yajna, dana and tapas. He has picked three things, yajna, dana and tapas. Natyajyam karma karyam eva tat. You should never give up these three. It has to be performed. And why? In the second line he says, yajno danam tapaschaiva. These three activities called yajna, dana and tapas. Pavanani, manishinam. Manishinam is, manisha means thought. Manishinam is those who have great thoughts, means wise people. So according to them, these three are purifying agents for us, pavanani. They purify us. They make us a better individual and so on. So this is how Sri Krishna says, and that's why I actually chose yajna and dana as two important elements of this Sanatana Dharma, which we must follow. And if we can follow it, that becomes an operational part of dharma. Dharma is, conceptually we saw, and also we got some ideas. Now I am talking about two very specific operational part. So Sanatana Dharma has a certain view on sustainability, which is very different from today's discussion on sustainability. See, today sustainability is a big discussion for, everywhere people talk about. So let us first understand today's views first. So defining framework, Sanatana Dharma says that the dharma is the defining framework for sustainability, because dharana dharma ityahu, and karma, or particularly karma yoga, the way it is described in Bhagavad Gita, is a very nice framework to make sure that it's sustainable. That's why I'm going to take all shlokas from Bhagavad Gita only today to talk. Now, the operating principle of sustainability, how does sustainability become a reality, and how does one individual operates this principle of sustainability? in which Sanatana Dharma gave two concepts called Yajna and Dana. So before we understand this, as I told you, we will try to understand what is the perception of sustainability in modern terms and Sanatana Dharma terms. So there are three, look at these three. One is called natural system constraints. People say that, acid rain, pollution, nature is putting its own limits and so on. People keep talking about it. So that is called as natural system constraints. They put a certain constraint on sustainability. Then social system demands. People, you have to sustain people, no? I call it a social sustainability. Haves and have-nots. If you take care of yourself and you become richer and richer and richer, and there is no welfare state, and there is a whole lot of people becoming poorer and poorer and poorer, it is unsustainable. There will be a civil war. Your safety will be jeopardized. That's why I said social system also demands sustainability. So that's the second dimension. Then there is a third dimension called growth and wealth. One way for me to understand sustainability is, do I make more money? This can be argued at an individual level. You can argue it at an institutional level also. Growth, wealth maximization. They believe that this is another angle of, there is another, this is another thing. So in modern parlance, all the discussion on sustainability, you go to this Kyoto protocol, multilateral protocol and so on, their entire discussion of sustainability actually is is actually in the intersection of these three. Their understanding of sustainability lies only there. In other words, they are saying, can we do business? Can we grow a nation and all that in such a way that natural system constraints are taken care, social system demands are also satisfied, and growth and wealth aspirations are also satisfied? So they are looking at A intersection B intersection C. That is their understanding of sustainability. If you step out of it, they say you are not sustainable. If you do growth without natural system constraint, they call it as unsustainable, like that. So this is the way they understood. Whereas Sanatana Dharma has a different perspective, and that perspective is like this. Sanatana Dharma says that these three are not, three, as in a Venn diagram, you put three circles. These three are actually concentric circles. The most dominant constraint is the natural system. If you don't, if you violate natural system, you and I don't even exist. I'm called sometimes to give a lecture on nature, city, and somewhere I go and give, because these are some of my interest areas. So once I gave a talk in Bangalore, and so they introduced me and then said, Professor Mahadevan has come. He is going to talk about how to protect nature. So that they gave a title like that. So I smiled after, as they were saying, I was smiling. Then I said that, first of all, I said this whole, I want to make it very clear. We cannot protect nature. Don't get into this ahankara that you can protect nature, which Westerners seem to have. Nature actually needs no helping hand, please understand. And nature, if it shakes a little bit, we'll all perish in no time. That is what nature is. So nature needs no helping hand from us. In 2013, there was floods in Kedarnath, and in about 3 hours time, Kedarnath was restored to, the clock was wound by about 150 years. The place looked at perhaps like what it was 150 years back. So nature needs no helping hand from ordinary mortals like you and me. Let us please understand, let us help protect ourselves from nature. So natural system constraints are very, very important. That's why in Rig Veda you'll find a lot of hymns only for nature. In fact, Yopam Pushpam Veda, Pushpavan Prajavan Pashuman Bhavati, Yaha Apam Pushpam Veda. Water. One who understands the importance of water and how it is You cannot build a system in which there are a lot of have-nots and there are haves. This pure capitalism is a danger. So we need to live and let live people and other living systems around us. So social system demands is what our Sanatana Dharma says is the next one you have to honor. When you are able to honor these two, then you grow your wealth, you know, do whatever you want to do. So this is the perspective of Sanatana Dharma, that we should have all these. So that prescriptions are also around this in the form of yajna and dana, which we will see today. So what is this yajna and dana in that perspective? Yajna and danam are a larger principle of thanksgiving. Please understand that the fundamental spirit of these two is a larger principle of thanksgiving. You know, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, Vivekananda also say, Daridra Narayana. A poor person is not somebody on whom you have to actually throw some coin at him or give him something. That is ahankara. There's no gravity flow there. It is reverse gravity flow. If there is a poor person, you should say, God has given me an opportunity to serve him, so I see God in him. Daridra Narayana is what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say. I am thankful to the Lord, he gave me an opportunity to help someone. So showing gratefulness to the larger system of beings in existence. And yajna and dana are a part of our daily life. It's a way of life in Sanatana Dharma. And why is it done? It is done because it is a tool for sustainability. That's the way the three sustainability that we are talking about will happen. We will see it anyway. It's a mechanism to actually, in the process, we will only self-evolve. All these are because we are on this continuous journey of self-evolution. So yajna and dana will only, help us self-evolve. It will discover this mutual dependence that we have with everything in the world. Lord has created we not in isolation, and develop greater sense of detached attachment. All these are the spirit behind yajna and danam, and that is how it addresses what is called sustainability. So sort of to put it in some nice framework, sustainability's building blocks are: number one, you should understand and honor the notion of mutual dependence. If you don't understand mutual dependence, we will never create a sustainable society. It's very, very important. Then there is the second one, which is the principle of live and let live. Social sustainability will come only through that. And third, shunning away selfish behavior, because that is a self-evolution part. While we are creating a sustainable world, you also self-evolve. So these are the building blocks of yajna and dana, which are the operating principles for sustainability, which is what dharma is all about. So with this kind of a preamble and a background, let's now get into yajna first and then see dana later.